In the depths of the vast Sahara, where the scorching sun mercilessly tests the strength of all living things, dwells a people whose traditions and customs seem as unfathomable as the majestic landscape itself. The Tuareg, the blue people of the Sahara, as they are often called for their love of indigo clothing, hold many mysteries. But one of them stands out against the backdrop of conventional ideas about gender roles and marriage. Imagine a world where women possess not only economic independence, but also the right to choose a partner, where divorce is not a tragedy, but rather an opportunity to start a new chapter. A world where men, on the contrary, wear a veil that hides their faces, and women openly express their will and desires. Does it sound like a fantasy? But for the Tuareg, this is a reality rooted in centuries of tradition and adapted to the harsh conditions of the desert. So, what is this unique society where women can change men without condemnation? And what factors contributed to the formation of such unusual gender relations? Let's immerse ourselves in the world of the Tuareg to unravel this fascinating mystery and understand what lessons we can learn from their experience. The Pearl of the Sahara: Matrilineality and Female Power. Unlike many other Muslim societies where patriarchy dominates, the Tuareg are matrilineal. This means that kinship and inheritance of property are passed down through the female line. Children belong to the mother's clan, not the father's, and it is the women who own most of the property, including livestock, land, and even the tents in which they live. This economic foundation provides Tuareg women with significant independence and power. However, matrilineality is only one of the factors that determine the unique role of women in Tuareg society. Equally important is the fact that women have traditionally been involved in education and culture. It is they who have passed down from generation to generation the oral traditions, poems, and songs that form the basis of the Tuareg cultural heritage. Women also played an important role in decision-making at the family and clan level, and their opinions were always taken into account by men. And what about marriage and divorce? Here too, the Tuareg demonstrate remarkable freedom and flexibility. Marriage among the Tuareg is, first and foremost, a union of two people based on love and mutual respect. Women have the right to choose their own husband and divorce him on their own initiative. Divorce is not considered a disgrace, but rather a natural end to a relationship that has ceased to be fulfilling. If a woman decides to divorce, she simply puts her husband's things outside the tent. This is enough to declare the dissolution of the marriage. After the divorce, the woman returns to her mother's house and retains all the property that she brought into the marriage. The man, on the other hand, must leave the house empty-handed and look for a new home. But why do the Tuareg, a Muslim people, adhere to such unusual traditions that contradict generally accepted norms of Islam? To answer this question, it is necessary to turn to the history and culture of this unique people. A legacy of freedom, the historical roots of matriarchy. The Tuareg are descendants of the ancient Berber tribes that inhabited the Sahara long before the arrival of Islam. For many centuries, they led a nomadic lifestyle, engaged in cattle breeding and trade. The harsh conditions of the desert required a high degree of adaptation and flexibility from the Tuareg. Perhaps this is what contributed to the formation of a more egalitarian society, where women played an important role in the survival of the family and clan. Unlike settled agricultural societies, where men traditionally dominated in the production and control of resources, among the Tuareg, women played a key role in managing herds and providing the family with food. In addition, women were engaged in the manufacture of clothing, carpets, and other household items that were exchanged in the markets. With the advent of Islam in North Africa in the 7th century, the Tuareg, like many other Berber tribes, adopted the new religion. However, they managed to preserve many of their pre-Islamic traditions, including matrilineality and a relatively high degree of freedom for women. Perhaps this is because Islam spread among the Tuareg gradually and did not always have a deep impact on their daily lives. In addition, the Tuareg have always been distinguished by their independence and unwillingness to submit to foreign rule. They often rebelled against the Arab conquerors and maintained their autonomy in the depths of the Sahara. This independence may also have contributed to the preservation of more egalitarian gender relations. The veil of silence, male modesty, and social rituals. Another unique feature of Tuareg culture that attracts the attention of researchers is the male veil, known as the toggle must. Unlike many other Muslim societies where women wear a hijab or niqab, among the Tuareg, it is the men who cover their faces with a veil. The toggle must is not just a piece of clothing, but an important symbol of masculinity, modesty, and respect for elders. Men begin to wear the veil in adolescence and never remove it in the presence of strangers or older people. The veil protects the face from sand and sun, but also hides emotions and intentions, which is considered a sign of good manners and restraint. Interestingly, Tuareg women, on the contrary, do not wear a veil and openly express their feelings and desires. They are free to communicate with men, smoke, sing, and dance. This creates a unique dynamic in society where men seem to hide behind the veil and women come to the fore, demonstrating their strength and independence. Wearing the veil is also associated with certain social rituals and rules of conduct. For example, a man must be able to eat, drink, and even sleep without removing the veil. It is considered indecent to show one's face to strangers, and violation of this rule may entail social condemnation. So, for the Tuareg people, the male veil isn't just a piece of clothing. It's a complex social symbol that shows how they think about being a man, being modest, and respecting their traditions. Love and freedom, courtship and marriage customs. Dating is a real art form for the Tuareg, full of romance and mystery. Young people meet at night in secret spots to share poems, songs, and little gifts. Women are really involved in dating, and they get to pick who they want to be with. Usually, young people send each other love notes written in the sand or embroidered on fabric. These notes have poems that share feelings and intentions. Women might also give men charms or jewelry that show their love and affection. Tuareg wedding customs are pretty simple and don't cost a lot. Usually, the wedding is celebrated with family and friends. The main thing is signing a marriage contract that says what each person's rights and responsibilities are. After the wedding, the newlyweds live in the bride's mother's tent. The husband can't butt into the wife's family matters and has to respect what she thinks. If the marriage doesn't work out, the woman can easily get a divorce and go back to her mother's house. It's important to know that the Tuareg really value love and romance in marriage. They think a marriage should be based on respect, trust, and affection. If those feelings go away, getting a divorce is seen as a totally okay thing to do. Modern challenges. Globalization and change. Even though they have a unique culture and traditions, the Tuareg aren't immune to the effects of globalization and modern challenges. Climate change, money problems, and political instability in the area are hurting their way of life and traditions. A lot of Tuareg people have to leave their nomadic camps and move to cities to find work and a better life. This means they lose their traditional skills and knowledge, and their cultural identity starts to fade. Also, the Tuareg are influenced by modern media and education, which push more conservative ideas about gender. This can limit women's freedom and make society more patriarchal. But a lot of Tuareg people are fighting back against these negative trends and trying to keep their unique culture and traditions alive. They're creating cultural centers, putting on festivals and exhibitions to promote their culture and pass it on to future generations. Tuareg women are also playing a big part in keeping their culture alive. They're still doing traditional crafts, sharing stories and poems, and fighting for their rights and freedoms. Lessons from the Sahara. What can we learn from the Tuareg? The Tuareg culture isn't just an interesting example of a matrilineal society. It's a valuable source of knowledge and inspiration for anyone who wants a fairer and more equal world. So, what can we learn from the Tuareg? First, they show us that gender roles aren't set in stone. They're social ideas that can change depending on the culture, history, and environment. Second, they show that being financially independent and getting an education are key to making sure women are free and equal. Third, they teach us that divorce isn't a tragedy. It's a chance to start over and build a happier relationship. Fourth, they remind us that it's important to respect traditions and culture, but also to adapt to changing times and fight for our rights and freedoms. Fifth, they show that freedom and equality aren't just rights, they're also responsibilities. Tuareg women don't just enjoy their rights, they also take responsibility for keeping their culture alive and for the well-being of their family and clan. In conclusion, the Tuareg culture is one of a kind and deserves our attention and respect. Their experience shows us that there are many ways to organize a society, and that gender relationships can be much more flexible and equal than we think. By learning about the Tuareg culture, we can not only broaden our horizons, but also learn valuable lessons about how to build a fairer and happier world for everyone.